Good afternoon, New Hope Online. Welcome back to Unscripted, your weekly conversation segment here at New Hope. 12:30 every Wednesday, we are here. It is interactive, so if you are watching us, streaming us, whatever it is you're doing, whatever platform you're on, you can comment and get interactive with us. Ask questions. Tell us that you're just hanging out with us to watch the conversation today. But like and share too. Share it with a friend and spread the word about it. Today we have a great conversation that happens to be with our interim senior pastor, who's getting ready to leave the post here after a year or so of being with New Hope. He's a great man, and we just want to celebrate him for what he's done here at New Hope in the short time that he's been here, but also to celebrate what he has done with a 50-plus year career in ministry. That's incredible. So without further ado, let's go to that conversation right now with Riley Short. And I just kind of want to just talk with you about your time here.
Yeah.
About your time as a senior pastor in that role as a career, and just a little bit about yourself. So how many years have you been in the role of senior pastor in your career?
Well, that's hard to answer, because when you say a senior pastor, you're talking about usually in a large church. I was the only pastor in the first church I served, which was a small church outside of Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
But all my life, all my pastoral ministry, I've been either the only pastor or the senior pastor, except for 5 years. I was an associate at Christ Methodist Church in St. Petersburg. So I started out in 1958, so figure it out. It's been a long time.
That's a long time.
Yeah, I've had a wonderful experience.
Yeah. And you've been all over Florida, Georgia, and Tennessee, right?
Yeah, I started out in a student appointment outside of Atlanta. Your dad and I were in school together, and I served a little country church called County Line while I was in school. And then I went to Knoxville, Tennessee, and from Knoxville to Clarksville, Tennessee, then came to Florida. I think it was 1968 that I finally got here.
Did you have the opportunity to be a circuit rider?
I was no. I served only station churches.
Mm-hmm.
When you ask if I was a circuit rider, that was the name of our basketball team.
I remember you said that.
at seminary, and I was definitely a circuit rider. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Yeah. 3 years. I was a starting playmaker and guard.
And you actually played in college too, didn't you?
No, I didn't. There are a lot of people who thought I did because I played so much, but I was not. I went to Vanderbilt. I had an opportunity. Florida Southern had shown some interest in me, and after my freshman year at Vanderbilt, I went to summer school at Emory Henry College up in Virginia, and the coach there was interested in me coming on, and I almost transferred, but there was a young lady there, kind of interesting, talked me into not transferring. She said, you got more to do in life than play basketball, and you really need to stick with Vanderbilt instead of Emory Henry, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah. Now, in all of this time, and I guess you wanted to sort of retire, maybe 10 years ago?
No, it's more like 18 years ago.
18 years ago. What and who said it would be a good idea for you to be an interim pastor? Or are you just kind of wanting something to do?
Well, right after I retired, I was I was asked to come and teach at Asbury Theological Seminary, homiletics preaching, which I did. Mm-hmm. But it was only one day a week, and I was getting bored. I mean, I was pastoring large churches almost my whole career, and I don't know. I thought, well, when I retire, I'll sleep in, and I never did. I got up the same time every day, and I was one day a week wasn't enough. I was getting bored, so I went to the bishop and I said, "Look, if you have someone that sins or dies, give me a call, and I'd like to fill in." And so he did, and this is my 10th interim in that period of time. Part of the time in between, my wife was critically ill with cancer, and I didn't take churches during that time. I spent my ministry was to her and with her, and a great part of that, of a wonderful experience, as sad as it was and hard it was, but we had some wonderful quality time together because of that.
Gauging the churches that you stepped into, were some more difficult than others in being that interim pastor? And
yeah, there were several of them that were really, really hard. When the preacher has had some type of a failure, the church is in extreme grief, and they also have a lot of anger and resentment, and sometimes, some of those times, they've been angry with the bishop because he took their pastor and made him surrender his orders. Mm-hmm. So you had to deal with anger and grief at the same time. One of the churches I went into was a retirement, mid-year retirement. That made it easy because the church loved the pastor and they were happy with the pastor, and it was easy to follow him. This church was not difficult because Jamie was promoted. The pastor was promoted. And so there was a sense of grief because he had been here a long time and he had been moved. So, but there wasn't the anger that would have gone along with it. And that wasn't as difficult. The difficulty for me has been the length, because it's been a long, long time. And certainly the trouble, we faced some of the most critical hours in the history of the world with the pandemic and the challenges that went along with that. It made it long, made it difficult. And because of that, I sort of withdrew because we couldn't get out anyway. So I just, I wasn't able to give the pastoral care, the visitation that it takes to build the church up. I thought we were off to a great start. We were having such a wonderful time together. I'd love to be able to see what would have happened had we not had the pandemic, because it was really cooking. Your youth group was on top of the world. I mean, it as the best youth group I've been around in probably, well, maybe my whole ministry. It was that strong. And and you know, we're not as strong now. We're not as big. That doesn't mean we're not as strong. It's just different.
It just, we need to get back to a certain level or a certain place again, I guess.
And and how do we do that? It's going to be the real challenge, because you've got to take into consideration worship services, Sunday school, the choir, everything has to be considered, and it's tough making those decisions.
Yeah, it really is. Because I think one of the things in making those decisions too is you're not going to have that level of commitment like you used to. Because
Well, we simply don't know. We don't know. We're supposing that commitment level won't be there, but we just don't know yet.
Right.
And that's, you probably think it through worst case scenario. So you would say we won't have. So if we have it, we're surprised and we've got that much overflow that we weren't expecting.
Right. And I think that's one thing we've learned in the past year is to have those low expectations and to think with those low expectations. So we are surprised.
Well, and I think because of the pandemic, we're going to have to change how we gauged things. Mm-hmm. I don't think you can say any longer the strength of the church will be based on attendance or the number of members that you have.
Right.
I think we're going to have to change our whole way of thinking what makes a strong church and a good church. I think New Hope is a great church. Do we have great attendance? For the pandemic, we probably did. But if you compared it to the world before the pandemic, no, we're down, way down. Same way with money. We're doing fine, but we're not where we were. But what about the being a family to each other and loving one another in spite of having to be distanced from one another? Have we done that? And I think we have. I think we have an attitude, a sweet attitude toward each other. And this church is also very Jesus focused. So people are looking, in my opinion, the pandemic is going to change that. People are looking for family. Everywhere they want to be part of a family. And everybody is looking for Jesus. So those two things at New Hope are there. So I believe we're going to have, I don't know about numbers, but I think we're going to be a great church.
Yeah. The numbers, we have no idea, but it's
the
heart is thriving. Let me ask you something. Next Sunday, is that going to be inevitably your last Sunday to be up there as a preacher? Are you done?
It's interesting. You've asked me a question that a number of people have asked me, including the bishop. And I've learned not to say what I'm going to do. I'm going to be open. So if the Lord wants me, I'll be there. If he says it's time for you, right, to take some time for yourself, I'll be there. Patty is behind me. She said, whatever you feel the Lord wants you to do, I'm for it too. So that's kind of a neat thing. But I don't know that this is the last one, but I don't know that it isn't. And so, Chris, this is my 10th one. And I will say this. I think each of the 10 that I've done, when I've left, the church has been better off than it was when I arrived. Now, that's a very egotistical thing to say. I don't think it has so much to do with me, but with the church becoming aware of who they are and what they are. I haven't done anything in this church. except say to the people, hey, we got a great church here. And we are a family. Though I didn't make them a family. I didn't make them a great church. I just reminded them of who they are and what they can become. That's it.
But
And
even still,
is that some kind of a spiritual gift? Maybe it is. I don't know.
we needed somebody to say that to us, though. And if it wasn't for you bringing that to our attention and being that beacon of light, then we probably would still be sitting there looking at each other like, what do we do now?
Well, I think, yeah, maybe I guess that's true. So if I can do that again,
on the back.
if I can do that again, I will.
Okay, you've had an amazing long career, and I want to ask you, what milestones or moments could you look back on as being the most important in your entire career?
Well, I think my coming to Christ Methodist with Dr. Horton was definitely a pivotal point in my career. Well, let me go back to another pivotal point. And this is sort of a confession time.
Mm-hmm.
I came out of seminary, and while I was at that little country church, we had an incredible growth time. I went from there to a small church in Tennessee, and again, it exploded. We had a marvelous building program, and hey, just a minute, Dick. I'm on the phone right now. Can I call you back? Okay, thank you. Bye. That was one of my good friends, Bishop Dick Wills. So I feel like I didn't want him to think I wasn't going to answer my phone. But I was in this small church. We built a new sanctuary and we more than doubled the membership. And I was feeling like I was really doing something really good, you know. And then I got moved to another church and I got smacked down. I was full of pride and I needed to be whipped. You know what I mean? And it was a turning point in my life where I was actually broken. I thought about leaving the ministry because I had not failed before. But instead, I had a great bishop who put his arm around me and prayed with me. And he said, right, what you need to do is throw yourself on the Lord and let him heal you and deliver you. And it was a humbling experience, but it was going to the cross, which is what I needed to do. Then 4 years later, I get another pivotal experience where Dr. Horton invites me to come and be his associate pastor at Christ Church in St. Petersburg. And Dr. Horton, I don't know if you ever knew him. He was at that one church for 46 years. And it was a marvelous experience. And I had opportunity to preach to great crowds, but it was learning how to move a church, how to operate a church, how to set a mood in a church, a large situation that was a great spiritual experience. He was a marvelous, marvelous Christian man and pastor. He built his church on pastoring, not on preaching, and on a celebration of church worship. He had contemporary worship before anybody thought about contemporary worship. It didn't have guitars and drums, but it certainly was unique and unusual, and lots of music in it. That was a pivotal point for me.
You brought up something I wanted to ask you about too, because you said you had a moment where you were broken, and I think we have often mistakenly put pastors and ministers and preachers on a pedestal of some sort with this expectation that they are all knowing and all holy and almost a superhuman to a certain extent. And we often forget that they are human just as the rest of us. And you have your brokenness just like everybody else. And you mentioned that there was something that you went through. But what other things that you can think of that you just have not found that answer to, that maybe people would expect you to be that person that would know it, or be all knowing of theological situations? I mean, do you just, can you sit there and say, I don't have the answer?
Well, you were the son of a preacher. I was too, and my father was a good part of my life. Actually, most of my life, he was a bishop. So, therefore, I went through all that expectations that people had of the preacher, and that wasn't fair, of preachers' children, which wasn't fair. And I learned along the way that people want to deny preachers humanity. They want us to be what they cannot be. They want us to be a saint. They want us to be holy. And I learned that was their problem, not mine. I know who I am. I know what I am, and I know who I am, and I know whose I am. I have no problem being comfortable in my flesh. If they're not comfortable with me being a human being, I feel sorry for them. And when I started dating Patty, I'd been her preacher. And she had known me as a preacher for a long time. And even before I took her out, I said, Patty, I got some bad habits. And she said, oh, and I said, yeah, I got bad habits. I said, I burp, and I scratch, and I spit, and I cuss. And she just kind of laughed, But fact is, what I was telling her was, I'm a human being. I'm a mere mortal. I am a man. And nothing more, but nothing less. And I told that to a friend of mine up in New Jersey. Actually, it was in Massachusetts. And she said, if you told me that, I would never have gone out with you. And I said, then you would never have gone out with a man, because I don't know a man yet that doesn't burp, spit, scratch, and cuss. So I said, you find some man that I am. If he's around, he's going to be Jesus himself. That's all I could say. So, but yeah, I learned when Jesus called me to preach, I said, I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not holy enough. I'm not sissy enough. And he said, I know that around you. I just want you to be who you are. Right. And I think certainly, Chris, you've got to know that. You've been around me enough to know that I am who I am, and I don't have a lot of pretense.
Absolutely. And yeah, it's one of the things I value in you. And I often think to myself, a lot of people, the older they get and they get in their later years, and they start just giving a flip about what people think about them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And who they are. But that is like a quality we should be carrying around all of our life, though, when you really think about it,
Sure.
It's interesting because I didn't really see a real side to my own father until he retired. I always looked at my dad as the minister instead of dad as the human being. And then the older he got, and even to closer to his death, when he was really just sort of helpless, I saw more of a human side to him than I ever did my entire life.
Yeah. Well, he wanted you to think highly of him, and he didn't want you to think of him as a human. So,
And I know a lot of preachers do feel that way, where they have to put on that sort of persona. But we just have to, and that's one of what I'm saying is one of the things I do value about you is you're a human. You're Riley first and foremost. You know.
thank you. I appreciate that.
Can you say, or can you give any advice as you kind of step away, or anything that you would like to say that would better the conference or the United Methodist Church in general?
Oh, Chris, wow. I hope there are a whole lot of people that don't know what's going on in the Methodist Church. They would be better off if they didn't know it. I think we're at the point of the Reformation. And I've asked myself, what would I have done when Martin Luther started the Reformation and I had been in the Catholic Church? What would I have done? And I can't answer that. And first of all, I don't know what's going to happen with the United Methodist Church. But if there was a choice of either staying or leaving with it, I don't know what I would do. I look at the two sides. I have friends that are definitely going to stay in the Methodist Church, do or die. And I've got some very good friends who have essentially already left the Methodist Church. They're still pastoring churches, but they've already left mentally. Now, see, which of these would I go with? And the truth of the matter is, a bunch of them on each side that I don't like. I don't want to be aligned with them, not with the churches, but with them. So that's difficult for me. I wish there was a third choice, and maybe there is. Maybe there is. Now, I have long believed, for instance, that my church is not strong because of its relationship to Methodism and the United Methodist Church. The churches that I see that are strong are those who have a relationship with Jesus Christ and who have a sense of family. Now, it doesn't matter what name you hang on that. You understand what I'm saying? I don't have any trouble with that. So maybe our third choice is to just be who we are and let all those other things work themselves out. I'm not going to worry about what the church in California is doing.
Yeah.
The land of fruits and nuts, I'm not going to worry about those people. I'm not even going to worry what St. Andrews is doing. I'm happy if St. Andrews is successful. If St. Andrews were to be hypocritical, I would be hurt and I would be sad. But I don't really care about what they do, because why? I have family right here. I have Jesus right here. The bishop, the district superintendents. Lord knows if I worried about what they did, I wouldn't be able to progress much at all. You understand what I'm saying? So it's just focus on who we are at New Hope. And be the family that we are. We're a mix of people. We got every kind of person in our church. I found that out. We got every walk of life. We have wealthy, we have very poor, poverty-stricken people. We have a lot of different colors, not as much as I would like or much as we would like. We would like more of that multiplicity that, as Vicki was saying. But we have some, and we have some people who are very evangelical, very fundamentally conservative. The Bible says. And we got other people who are very liberal minded. So do we hate each other over that? That's what the tendency has been in the culture we're a part of. But if we're a family, we say, sure, you can feel that way. We got some people that believe baptism is only by immersion. We have some people who believe that predestination is a certainty. But most of us are somewhere in there saying, hey, there are some things that could possibly be preordained. Or there is, yeah, the amount of water may be important to you, but it's the spirit of the baptism that is most important to me. It's the act of God, not the act of man in baptism. But should we cast out those people who think such? No. The power and the strength of what the Wesleyan movement has been that we're not a doctrinal church, which means the wind can blow where it will. The main doctrine of Wesleyan movement is a personal relationship to Jesus Christ. Now, if that's true, how can I say what a personal relationship is for Christopher? I can't, nor should I. Let the wind blow fresh and anew upon Christopher. I don't have to worry about what Christopher thinks, feels, how much water's used in his baptism, how often he takes Holy Communion. Has he been to confession? That's not my job. My job is love Christopher and to accept Christopher as a child of God. So who cares? Who cares what the doctrinal church is going to be? It looks like that's what we're doing. We're arguing over doctrine when Wesley said we don't have a doctrine. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes total sense. I gave an example to my daughter the other day because she was asked out in public at a store if she knew where she was going to go when she died. And she didn't have an answer. And I said, the best thing you can do when somebody comes up and asks you that question is, that's between me and God.
What?
It's between me and God. It's none of your business.
Oh, yeah.
But I get it. And you even went into some of that actually yesterday when we were at staff meeting about the personal relationship. And I couldn't agree more. And it makes total sense to me. And I think,
well, yeah, and it was obvious at the staff meeting that there's different doctrines.
Yeah.
Should we fire people who don't have the same doctrine? I don't think so. I was pleased that we had these different discussions because that means we're accepting as a family ought to be.
Yeah.
And that's what the church ought to be.
It brings a certain balance to it too.
Yeah.
Do you think that is your sort of lasting advice to us as you step away from New Hope? Or is there more that you would give to us as far as advice when you leave, when you step away from New Hope? Is there anything else you would give to us as far as where we're going, the direction, what we could do?
Yeah, I think that's what I would hope for. I don't know that I'll give any word of direction on it. I don't think if I haven't given the word of direction by now, it's a little late. But being a family, just be a family of brothers and sisters under the fatherhood of God as revealed to us by Jesus, and love one another, not necessarily agree with one another, not even necessarily like one another, just love one another. And and I think that's what the church is doing right now. And I think it's very healthy. Um, and I think that gives it a good future. I have some hopes for I would I think that there's some now I think I would love to see our children's ministry prosper and grow. Certainly the youth ministry, uh, you've got they've got a great youth director, and we've got a good youth program. And I'd love to see more young people take advantage of it. For that reason, not that we would be successful, but that people would be blessed. Um, I, I would like to see us have more missions. I would love to see us reach out into our immediate neighborhood. Our immediate neighborhood is, there are very, very few and far between people who are coming to our church. And I don't know that they will ever come to our church and feel comfortable in it. But I wish they would. And I think our church is welcoming to it. I would like to see our Hispanic ministry it's got to be among the best in the annual conference. It is an incredible ministry we have there. But I'd like to see us reach out more, maybe find another church and buy an old building like we've done, and reach out to more, because it's obvious that's where a lot of our growth in the nation is coming from. And we've got to take care of those people. And I can't reach them. You can't reach them. So that you got to find another Roberto and Yamali and expand that ministry, because that's a real challenge. But how can you ever have enough mission, enough outreach? So I would love to see us have more. But as far as, do I need to give you advice on that? I don't think so. I think you guys have been way ahead of me on those things. But I'd love to see it happen, and I think it will happen.
So, just to wrap it up, when you are complete with your interim of being a senior pastor here at New Hope, what will you do as far as like maybe just the summertime? Are you just going to relax? Are you going to travel? Are you going to do something for yourself?
Yeah, I am going to do some things. We have a family reunion over Memorial Day weekend, and then my son-in-law's father died at the beginning of COVID, and we're going to have they're having two funeral services, maybe three, one in New Jersey, two of them in New Jersey that we'll be going up to, and then one in Nantucket. And we've spent a month in Nantucket almost every summer. It's a wonderful place to ride your bike. I ride a bicycle, as you know, and it's so cool up there, and I love riding my bike up there. So in fact, I have 4 bicycles that I keep there year round. And I have another niece that's getting married in July up in Nashville. So yeah, we're going to be doing that, but we'll now. One of the questions that you may be asking is, do you plan on coming back and worshiping at New Hope? I might. I don't know yet. I would love to do that, but I don't want to be a distraction. I've noticed when I go back to the churches where I have been the interim, not where I was the senior pastor, but where I've been the interim, when I go back, it is a distraction. And would that be true at New Hope? I don't know. When I come back for the first time, I will know. And if I'm a distraction, I won't be back. Because I don't like the focus to be on me. I want it to be on us and upon Father Jesus. So I'll be sensitive to that.
I can't speak for everybody. I mean, it would be great to see you back, to come back and worship with us, but I totally get that. I totally understand it. I get it. But I do know that a lot of people do love you and care for you and would love to somehow see you and worship with you or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm just speaking for them. I know they would just get a kick out of it.
Well, and let me say this in my parting. I hope that I've been a blessing to the church. But I know this: the church has been a blessing to me. I could not have been a more blessed person than what I have been at New Hope. To have worked with you and Roberto and Yamali and Victoria, to be a part of the lay movement of the church, to just sense the togetherness and the family that we have become and are, and to have been allowed to be a part of it. Yeah, I've been blessed. And I do know I'm loved. And I think the church knows I love them.
Yeah.
And that's pretty good. That's something of the kingdom on earth as it is in heaven.
Absolutely. It was definitely a win for the church to have you a part of it and to help us in this transition and to just be an inspiration and a guide and that beacon of a light that we needed. And
thank you, Chris. Thank you.
So blessed, and we value you and what you've done here, and you won't be forgotten. I know you've stayed longer than you're probably supposed to, but in that year plus time, that's going to stick out decades from now.
Well, thank you, Chris. I love you, and
I love you too.
May God continue to bless you in your ministry.
Well, thank you so much, and good luck with everything that you're preparing yourself to do this summer. I hope you have some free time to yourself and you just have a great time with your family. And thank you so much for doing this with us today.
Hey, honored, buddy.
Thank you. Have a great day, Riley.
Thank you, Chris.
I'll talk to you. Yeah.
I'm sorry about Dick calling in, breaking in.
No problem.
You got to love Riley. He's awesome. I want to thank Riley once again for sharing with us, for taking the time to do Unscripted with us. Also, just for his service with New Hope for the last year or so with us, and for being a servant of God for so many years. He's inspired so many people in so many churches, and we have been blessed. And we've been blessed to have you join us today. I hope you join us next week. Next Wednesday, 12:30, we'll have another conversation. And I hope you can be there to join us on Unscripted. Have a wonderful day.